Okay, welcome to the next episode of the Strong Dad Army podcast. Today I have with me Paul Dickinson. Paul is he's currently a personal trainer, runs an online fitness business as well. He's a former Ironman bodybuilding champion, and most importantly, like most of us listening to this podcast, he's a dad. So welcome on, pal. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. All right. Just got back from work about half an hour ago, threw my tea down my neck, put little one in bed, and then jumped straight in garage to record this with you, mate. So I'm good.
Never stops, does it?
No, busy day today as well. How are you anyway, pal? Are you coping all right?
Yeah, mate. I'm good. Like I said, we're just settling into the swing of things now. It's been manic first couple of weeks. You probably know yourself, just literally so many client programs to create, so they can train at home. So the first 10 days or so were absolutely manic, just getting everyone readjusted to home training, reassuring people that they can still, get progressive workouts in and effective workouts in at home.
Yeah.
And then, it's just kind of settled down now and like normality now, isn't it?
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, good. It is, yeah. I mean, we're turning fine. It's becoming kind of normal. My missus is working from home at the minute, and it's kind of become normal to her at the minute. I think she's probably looking forward to going back, like getting out of the house. But other than that, it's kind of normal, mate. So, right, if it's all right with you, mate, we'll just start. I like starting early on with people, really, and just getting a bit of backstory from people.
Yeah,
so, obviously, I know you're relatively local to me, but like, what were you like as a kid? Were you into sports? Were you a good lad, a bad lad, or what?
Yeah, I think as a younger kid, I started sport pretty early. So I started playing rugby around 4 years of age,
Right.
At Tilsley, and I played rugby and football all the way through to probably mid-teens for school, St Mary's, which was a good level. St Mary's rugby and football teams back then, and then probably from around mid-teens to about 19, when I had my son, was kind of the phase where I got out of everything. I had, no positive role models really around. And yes, sport just kind of dwindled off in that period.
Yeah.
Stopped playing rugby, stopped playing football. And then you kind of get to that age, don't you, around 16, and the pub comes calling and going out with your mates at the weekend.
Yeah.
And it all goes out the window then.
Yeah. To be honest, mate, it's very similar to myself, that, because I mean, did you say you were 19 when your lad was
19 when I had my son, yeah.
Yeah, because I was only just 17 when my lad was born. So I was the same, into sport, played rugby at a decent level for like my county and stuff like that, and then started falling by the wayside. And then, well, especially when the little one as he was back then came, it definitely all stopped as I believed I didn't have the time to do it. But obviously as I've got older, I know maybe I did, but it is what it is. We learn from what we do and we don't do, or we quit or whatever we do, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, I think if you could, you're probably the same. If we could go back with what we know now and apply that when we were teenagers and early 20s, it would have been a different story. You could have probably played sport at a higher level.
100%.
It's one of those things you live and learn, don't you?
Yeah. So obviously I know now that you train regularly, because we've spoke many times. We've even done a training session together a while back, and what have you. But what got you back into training then? So was there anything in particular, or can you remember when you decided, right, I need to get back in the gym? Was there anything in particular that made you?
Yeah. So I had my son at 19, and then my life then revolved around him. When everybody else was going out at the weekends getting smashed, I'd just be sat in at home with my new son, and I got into the habit, I think, of drinking cans in the house and stuff like that. Before I knew it, I'd gone from this relatively skinny teenager into a bit of an overweight dad. And I think my shining moment was I looked in the mirror. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror one day, and I had this belly hanging over my jeans. And yeah, that was the catalyst then for me to do something about it. I think I got to about 23, I think, when I got into the gym, and I had no clue back then what I was doing.
Yeah. Just what was it for you back then? Just typical bro split, was it? Chest day,
Yeah,
leg
mate,
day?
it definitely was. Yeah, it was, chest, back, legs,
Yeah,
shoulders, arms, and abs, lifting as heavy as I could.
yeah,
And the whole goal was to get massive. That's all I wanted to do. So I wanted to change how I look from this, this guy with a belly hanging over to, what I'd seen on pictures and magazines. So I used to have, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
yeah. I do, pal.
That was the first book I read on it, and
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, I want to be massive in shape. And nutrition back then was Morrison's at dinner time for a Warburton's loaf and a full chicken,
And you'd eat
and that's what I did. Wolf that down every single day.
the full
And
loaf of bread as well.
full loaf of bread, mate, and a full
Jesus,
chicken. That was it. That was my lunch and my dinner as well.
Bloody hell.
Was half of that.
Well, I know I have
So
seen on your social media, like it's probably around the time you a post you put up every now and then, showing like the different stages you've been through. And I know there was the time when you were saying you were training to be as big as possible. I know you were a big lad, like you could tell looking at you lifted. But I remember you seeing that actually. You said you were eating the full chicken, sat outside of work or Morrison's or wherever it was.
yeah, I've posted that picture a few times, and people still don't think it's real. People still think it's photoshopped, and because they reckon my head doesn't look right on that body.
Doesn't, mate. I'll be honest. When I've seen it, I can tell it's you. But obviously, knowing you like I do, and what I've seen you, mate, it's hard to imagine you were like that one day. Like, and we'll come on to that in a minute, mate. So, like I mentioned in the intro, like you've done a bit of MMA, Ironman, bodybuilding. So, what was the first thing you did competitively as an adult? Was it the MMA?
Yeah, MMA came first, mate. So I mean, the stories kind of tie in with each other. So just going back to that picture, I was up at just underneath 19 stone in that picture.
Yeah.
And excuse me, I started to develop injuries. So I got bad lower back issues from squatting. I started to get bad knees and bad shoulders, through just pure heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where I would go and play football with my lad on the field, and I'd be absolutely knackered after around 90 seconds. I mean, physically panting away, and I was useless. And I thought, yeah, I don't want this. So I was looking for something that would not only drop some weight, but would kind of challenge my competitiveness,
Yeah.
but also more than anything that would increase fitness and increase my mobility. And that's when I started training mixed martial arts. I think when I was about, I'm trying to think back now, probably when I was about 30, I think it was, just as I hit 30, I think I got into mixed martial arts training.
Just out of interest, mate, where did you start off? Where did you do your training first?
I started off a gym in Walkden, which was, I'm trying to think what it was called, and I think it was Mixed Martial Arts Academy. It was
okay.
It was called, run by a guy who lives in Westleigh called Steve Boys. He ran the gym where I first went, and so I think I spent 2 years training MMA, and when I fought, I think I weighed in at 12 stone 12 on fight days. I dropped like almost 7 stone in 18 months to 2 years of training, and that's kind of where I got the bug for kind of challenges.
Yeah.
As such, I really started to get interested in all different aspects of training. So strength training, bodybuilding, energy system development, all that kind of thing kind of started to fascinate me.
Yeah.
And that's what that was probably when I first got the actual real bug for training. It just became such an important part of my life from there.
So I take it the personal training came after this, did it, or had you already been personal training prior to that?
No, mate, it came after that. Personal training was probably around, I think, 7 years ago, I qualified as a personal trainer. So yeah, that came, you know, in conjunction with that period of time where I was, you know, really into training and passionate about it. And I thought, you know, I ran my own business doing drains, you know, clearing drains and putting new drainage systems and stuff like that in. And I hated the job, you know. I was just a one-man band, and I thought to myself, you know, I want to change my life now, not only, you know, from what I do from a training point of view, but also from a business point of view as well. So I wanted that to be my career. So it kind of that kind of set me off on where I was today.
Cool. Good stuff, man. So the Ironman came next, did it, or was there anything before that?
No, so I mean, after, you know, I got in, I competed then in MMA. I had one fight, and that was my only aim, was to get in there and get to a level where I could compete, and then move on. You know, I was getting into my early 30s then, so it was never something that, you know, I had any expectations of it being, you know, going any further into, you know, as a career. It was just something that I wanted to do, get to a certain level, experience it, and then move on. And then I probably spent a few years then just enjoying training. So just really experimenting with you know, all different training systems, all different kinds of training programs. And then I did a photo shoot down at Grenade Fit in, I think that was 2017. So that was the first time, you know, that I'd proper, you know, got myself into you know, great condition. And then I think the Ironman then came the year after that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's the first time I sort of came across you, so to speak, was on the Grenade Fit Facebook page. They had like sort of a free members group.
Yeah.
And I remember keep seeing all these posts from this guy, Paul Dickinson. I thought, oh yeah, he sounds like he knows he's talking about, this guy. And the stuff you were talking about, I thought, that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. And, you know, like you said, more strength training and things like that. So then when I looked a bit deeper, I thought, Christ, he's only from down the road. You know, I didn't realise you lived so close to me, considering Grenade Fit, like, you know, literally the bottom of the country, like, you know, innit? It's miles away. Right, so then the Ironman came, which, I mean, you know, to a regular bloke, so to speak, if you like, mate, there's not many things probably more difficult from a physical aspect of preparing yourself, I'd imagine. But, you know, talk us through that, mate. What made you want to do it? How did you find it?
You know, the funny story how it came about was the gym I was working in. We had a massage therapist there who was a multiple Ironman, and, you know, we was chatting, me and him and one of the young lads who was working the desk, and the young lad said to me, you won't be able to do an Ironman. And that is literally how the idea came about. I think it was in around end of November in 2017, and he said that then, and I said, right, well, we'll see. And once I get those ideas in my head, that's it. Then I set my sights on what I want to do. You know, I don't have any, and I talk about this quite a lot, I don't have any special gifts. You know, I'm not gifted from an athletic point of view. Like, I have a younger brother who is literally super gifted, and anything he does, he's brilliant at. And, you know, I don't have any special gifts in that department, but what I do have is a work ethic and a work capacity that when I say, you know, I will do something, you know, I will follow it through, and that's where Ironman came from. And I had no idea, Dan, what I was doing when I started Ironman training. I borrowed a bike off a mate of mine, and in middle of December, I was going out riding a bike for 20-30 miles in snow and blizzards, and guys were saying to me, "What are you doing? You know, we don't go out riding in winter. We train on turbo trainers inside." I was like, "What's a turbo trainer?"
Yeah. Well,
so obviously,
you've never done it, you wouldn't know, would you?
Yeah. No, I didn't have a clue. I was riding around on this road bike in in snow, and the back wheel was flying around everywhere. I was falling off it, and I had no clue what I was doing. And then gradually, I got a turbo trainer, set a bike up in my front room. I got some ideas off the massage therapist Neil, the guy who worked at our place, and he just pointed me in the direction of where to learn stuff from. And then I literally taught myself how to do all the aspects of it. Yeah. So I had this bike set up in my front room where I would get the miles in on the bike, and then I would just go out and run on the roads. And when I first went into swimming pool, I think was beginning of January. And so bear in mind when we talk about an Ironman, it's
I was just going to ask that, mate, if you just in case.
So we're on virtually a 3.8 kilometre swim. I think it's 180 kilometres on the bike, and then a 42 kilometre run. Yeah. And I'd not rode a bike since I was a kid, and I used to dick around on my BMX. That was the only experience I'd had a bike. And running wise was, I think, probably when we used to do cross country at school. Yeah. And I used to take a shortcut and get back before most of the people, because we knew how to get back. And that's the last time I'd ran. And I remember getting in the swimming pool for the first time and understanding that it was January then. The Ironman was in July of 2018. So I literally had 5 or 6 months to kind of get this training in and put it all together. And you'll know when you go on holiday, you jump in swimming pool, don't you? You do a few laps, and you think you're a bit of a swimmer. You can do your breathing with your head in the water and all that, and you think, yeah, well, it'll be no problem, the swimming. I jumped in the swimming pool, and in the first session, I did 50 meters. That was it, and I was absolutely knackered.
That's me now, man.
Yeah, well, I got out of this swimming pool after not being able to swim 50 meters, and thought, I've got to swim 3,800, and the doubts come in, but then you've just got to break it down. Then, so I knew I'd be all right on the bike because I've been getting plenty of bike work in, and then once the weather was better, we got out on the road, and the bike, I knew that I would get through. I wouldn't set the world on fire, but I'd get through the bike part no matter what. Mm-hmm. Once I got through the bike, I knew that no matter what happened, I would complete the run, whether I had to run, walk, crawl. I knew I would complete it. But the swimming part was the fear for me, because I had visions of jumping, because it was in Pennington Flash, which you know well. Yeah. So I had visions of getting into Pennington Flash, splashing and splashing around, and being fished out by organisers on one of the boats. And so then I just broke it down literally into 500 meters. So my first goal was to swim 500 meters, without stopping. Then after I got to that, it was swim 1,000 meters without stopping. And then once you can swim 1,000 meters, 1,500, you learn how to breathe. And I actually learned how to breathe on YouTube. I YouTube breathing for Ironman swimming, and then I got a few swimming sessions in with Neil, the guy I mentioned before. And once you can swim around probably 1,500 meters, you're into the groove then, and then you can just kind of keep swimming. Yeah. And then from there, obviously, we've got to then get into some open water swimming, so we know what to expect on the day. And the first time I went to open water swimming, I went to Salford Keys. I think it was end of March, and I think the water temperature might have been possibly around 11 degrees, if I remember rightly. And Neil I was with, so I've got this wetsuit on, got ready for get in, and he said to me, when you get in, this cold is really going to hit you, so just take some deep breaths, get yourself comfortable before you set off swimming. And me being me, what those blokes are like, yeah, no worries, I'll be fine. I don't have to worry about that. I've done cold showers and all that. I'll just get in and get cracking. I got in and I literally thought that I was going to drown there and then, because everything just stiffened up. Yeah. The water came over, went inside the wetsuit, and I literally could not breathe. And it took me about 5 minutes to compose myself in there and set
Yeah.
off swimming. And then it was just a case of just getting used to it and gradually building it up. And I think about 2 weeks before the actual Ironman event was the first time that I actually swam the distance in open water.
Yeah.
And once I'd done that then and knew that I could swim that far, I was happy that I would get it completed. But that still didn't set me up for what was to come.
Well, that's it. I'd imagine. I mean, because in the fire service, there's a big culture of Ironman or triathlons and stuff like that. There's loads of blokes, especially in the job, that do it. And from chatting to some of them in years previous and stuff, they've said that when you're training, am I right in thinking you'd never do the three aspects together in a training session?
So you would do swims would be done on their own. Yeah. And then you would do brick sessions, which basically you would go out and ride the bike for X amount of miles. Yeah. And then you drop the bike off and you would go out to run then, which, is conditioning your legs to get used to running as soon as you come off the bike. Because you can imagine when you're cycling, 80, 90, 100 miles, when you get off, your legs are dead. And the first thing you want to do is lie down and
yeah, of course, and
do nothing. You never actually put the three together until on the day.
So, like you said, it must have been a big shock then. So obviously you did that, pal, which I don't even care. I'm not even interested in what time you got or anything. I don't care, mate, because it's something I know I'd never end up doing it, mate, just because, one, it's not, I don't know, it's just not something that interests me. From what I mean is by that is that, like, I know that I hate running, I hate swimming, and I don't mind cycling a bit. So I just don't think I'd enjoy even trying, So fair play to you, mate, for having that, the will and the drive to do it.
I was the same as you, mate. I hated the disciplines as well, and I can't describe, how painful the experience is. Don't get me wrong. When you come over that line after completing it, that feeling of euphoria is absolutely massive. And for that split second when you come over the line, you forget about everything, about the pain, about everything that you've been through, because it's a psychological battle.
I can imagine.
When I got to the run after the bike ride, I was knackered. I think I was when you transition in between swimming and cycling, and then cycling run, you get into transition. You should be in there for about 3 or 4 minutes. I remember when my time splits came once I'd completed and you get everything through. I was in the second transition between the bike and the run for 17 minutes. Right, my legs were dead. I did not want to go out and run a marathon. Yeah. There was nothing in me that wanted to go out and run a marathon. Only the fact that I'd said I would do it and I intended to do it. And I remember when I came over the finishing line, everyone's cheering and you kind of forget about everything from there. But I'd had this wet in my feet all the way around, which I thought was just sweat. Mm-hmm. And when I went and sat down, backstage, for want of a better word, where you kind of sit there and the enormity of what you've just achieved comes over you, and you start taking all your stuff off and getting back into normal gear. I remember taking my trainers off and my socks were wet, but by the time I'd finished, they were now dry. And when I peeled my socks off, I started pulling toenails off with my socks, because that wet that I'd had was blood in my trainers that had dried up, and I was still losing toenails 6 months after.
Jesus, man! So they're just falling off.
Yeah, mate, just literally falling off. Like, I got home and I was wrecked. I was wrecked for about 3 or 4 days, and I reckon it probably took me about 3 months to get over it totally. In that first 3 months, I had no interest in training. My body felt like it had been, smashed to pieces. Yeah. And as I said, 6 months later, I was still having toenails falling off. But I wouldn't change it,
It makes your experience to talk about, innit, and remember.
Yeah, I will have that with me forever, no matter what happens, and it's something that I'm really, really proud of.
Yeah, good, and so you should be, mate. So am I right in thinking then that the bodybuilding came next?
Yeah, and there was
Oh, go on, how
something
did this
very
come?
similar. It kind of just, there was, it wasn't planned. So by this time, I'd got into this place where I wanted to build this body that could take on all demands.
Mm-hmm.
That I could literally switch my attention to something, and in a matter of months, I'd be able to do it. So between MMA and where I am now, this is what I was always working towards. And I was in pretty decent shape, and I took a selfie in the mirror at home, and I thought, you know what, I'm in pretty decent condition, and bodybuilding had been my first love where training was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sent Ollie Carson, who you know, a message, and I said, have a look here, and what do you think we could do? Do you think we could? And I think this was 10 weeks before I did the competition. I said, what do you think we could be competitive in a masters division? And he sent me a message back and saying, mate, 100% definitely. And that's basically how the idea was born. So from that point we found which was the latest competition to give us most time. And I think the latest one was 10 weeks from that day, which was the UK UP Midlands, and we set our sights on that. And again, it was just another case of head. My eyes were on the prize, head down, and do what needed to be done.
Awesome. And how did that go? I mean, I know, but for anyone listening, how did that go for you?
So I entered the Masters at the UK UP, and I won the Masters, but I also won the overall in men's physique as well. So the overall title, and then I won the Masters at the British Finals the following week. And we created a physique that I was really proud of, that held up against lads in the 20s as well. So yeah, I was chuffed to bits with that.
Yeah, good. And so it should be. I remember seeing your pictures, mate. And don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly what you call a physique coach myself in that aspect, like Ollie is. By the way, I've been messaging Ollie today, and he's hopefully coming on. We've not nailed a day and time down yet, but he's coming on for a chat.
Yeah, get him on. Ollie is just a fantastic bloke. And the first time I met him was he did Ironman at the same time as me. The first time we met face to face was on the start line in wetsuits at Ironman. So that's how that relationship was kind of was born out of.
Cool, good stuff, man. Right, so then moving on from your sporting achievements, if you like, then. So I'd probably be right in guessing that your biggest achievement's probably being a dad, yeah?
Without a shadow of a doubt, mate. Everything I've always said, that everything I do is to try and set an example to my children, that if you're willing to dedicate yourself to something, if you're willing to make necessary sacrifices, there is nothing that is is outside of your achievements. And yeah, that's ultimately what I want to do, and just try to lead by example. And hopefully when they're my lad's in his 20s now, but hopefully my daughter's also a bit older and she's interested in more things than lashes and having her extensions put in, she'll look back and think, my dad's pretty cool with a bit of luck.
Yeah, I'm sure she will, mate. So just out of interest then, pal, is there anything like you can think of that you've found as like, big challenges as a dad, whether it be something from actually raising your kids as such that were a massive challenge for you, even if it was years ago, or anything now, even though your kids are growing up at all, mate?
Yeah, I think when I was mixed martial arts training, if you want to be at a decent level, it requires a hell of a lot of training. So I was training 7 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day in different disciplines, and also still lifting at the gym. So I spent quite a lot of time away from home.
Yeah.
which was difficult. But the one thing I'd always done, I'd always worked for myself for the last 12, 13 years. So I'd always been able to drop my kids off at school, pick them up from school, put them to bed at night. So yeah, I kind of just managed it. And I think the only difficulties is when the kids get a bit older and they think that you are really, really uncool, no matter what you do.
Yep.
They're the biggest difficulties I find.
Yeah, good stuff, man. So what's next for you then, mate? I mean, I know you posted something the other week, so I've got a bit of an idea what might be next for you, but
I mean,
any plans?
The idea was after the men's physique shows was I was going to dedicate 12 months to competing, which sort of took on 5 competitions across 2020. Obviously now, the majority of them have been cancelled.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going to happen later in the year. What do I want to achieve from a future point of view? I hate running. So I have this thing that if I really don't like something, but I can get half decent at it, then everything else becomes easy. So I have this thing about things that I hate doing. I have to try and get half decent at them. So I've no doubt somewhere along the lines in the next couple of years, an ultra marathon will come into the equation. And I really enjoyed, when I was doing the Ironman training, I really enjoyed the open water swimming. Right. So I reckon the challenge from some kind of open water will come in. And then later on this year, hopefully, is another men's physique show, which will be the PCA in Manchester, if they're allowed to go forward. And then we'll see what next year brings after that. But I mean, I don't want to dedicate too much of my time to one thing because I want to try so many things, because there's going to come a time in all our lives when we can no longer do the things that we really want to do. So I want to experience as many of them as I can before that time comes. Yeah,
definitely, mate. Totally agree with that. So obviously you don't know exactly what's going to happen just yet because of the, like you said, the bodybuilding shows being cancelled and postponed and what have you. But like I've been asking all the guys I've had on the show so far, and I'll be asking all guests in the future, tell us an embarrassing story. Don't matter if it's from your adult kid.
This has been the hardest part of my day today, is thinking, because I don't go out a lot, I'm not a drinker, I've not got many embarrassing stories. But I'll tell you one from the gym, which was, I think, was probably around, when would it have been? I think it may have been in my mid-30s. I remember training in the gym once, and do you know when you get under a bar for a bench press and you're getting towards your, what your PB is?
Yeah.
And you've got that weight on, and you look around and there's not really anybody there to spot you. So you can probably get 3 reps with this weight. And you get your 3 reps out and you're feeling strong, you're feeling good, and you think to yourself, I've got another one here. I've never done 4 reps with this weight, so I'm going to go for it. I remember this story that I was starting to go for this 4 reps, and it did not go anywhere, right? It was stuck right there on my chest. And the only 2 people in my vicinity was 2 middle-aged ladies who were fooling around, the pink dumbbells. And I had to shout them and ask them to come and help me lift it off. And by this time, there'd been a few more people coming in the gym and seeing that I'd got this bar stuck on me, and the story soon went round.
Well,
I think that was probably
no secrets, is there?
mega embarrassing for
that. Well, I've done, unfortunately, I can say I've done that myself, but I was fortunate enough it wasn't 2 middle-aged ladies, it was just another fella in the gym. So I wasn't too embarrassed about saying, can you help me here, mate? With this weight stuck on.
Believe me.
Well, that was exactly the same, yeah. Like you said, went for like a 3 rep max. Thought, yeah, I fancy number 4 or whatever, number 5. Went for it.
Yeah.
Got to my chest. Not moved.
Just stops dead, doesn't it?
Probably overthought. It's probably more about overthinking it, I think, than anything else. Right, mate, so just briefly touch, obviously, almost at the end now, mate, but just to briefly touch on like your personal training, just so I know you're a MNU certified nutritionist, aren't you, as well?
I am, yes.
Yeah, which is a big time in our game, I think, mate. So
yeah, mate. It's definitely, for me, it's the gold standard. And even doing that, mate, you know, I still don't have all the answers when I listen to other people talk about nutrition. So, you know, your Martin McDonald's, people like that. These guys literally blow my mind when they start talking. But what I did take from that was a real understanding of what evidence-based nutrition actually is. And you know, you probably, I know you've got the same principles where we stand on this, especially when it comes to fat loss, is just getting the message out there that, you know, you don't have to be on a diet all the time.
Absolutely,
you know,
man.
you can eat foods you enjoy. You can have, because, you know, 99% of the people that we will deal with as coaches are just general population people. They want to be relatively lean, relatively strong. You know, the gym is not the be all and end all.
Absolutely.
You know, they've got social lives, they've got children, they've got partners, they've got friends, and trying to get the message across to people that, you know, it is our job to build these processes and these habits into your life, not to literally have you starving yourself constantly. And as you're well aware, mate, there's so many in the game that are trying to push this message now of all these fad diets. And you've made jokes about, you know, skinny coffee and detox teas like I have. But as you well know, you know, once people do these things and get a little bit of a result, it becomes almost like a cult following.
Yeah.
And you can't change people's minds. They will argue with you
absolutely
until the cows come home.
Yeah. And I think the thing is with that is that, like, you know, your people that like might sort of get, you know, caught in by, let's use this skinny coffee type thing, for example, the people that, you know, get caught up by it and end up, you know, buying it, whether they get results or not, whatever, it's more that they don't necessarily know any better. And that's what I think that yourself, I'm confident you do, from what I see from your message, and I certainly do, is trying to teach people that there is a better way where you don't have to be drinking these things. You can eat your normal food. You can have your Sunday, you know, you go for a carvery with your kids on a Sunday and it's all right, and you'll still be all right.
100%, mate. I mean, you know, people will get results from that if they adhere to that. So if you drink skinny coffee and that reduces your food intake, you know, you will consume less calories and you will lose weight.
Yeah.
And the message that that the people that, you know, I kind of relate to and who I follow and stuff, the message that we're trying to get across is that you lost that weight because you ate less.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very simple. You ate less food. That is why you lost that weight. And it's trying to get people kind of, they're anchored to this idea because they lost weight on it. It must have been the coffee.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no, it wasn't. And that is the difficult part, because we're surprised how much people actually do not know when it comes to nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And people fall victim to this kind of stuff because they don't know no better. So, you know, the more people out there that are educating, you know, the better for me.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, with my clients, I mean, I've got some guys who've just started a new online program this week, and some of the questions coming through from those guys, you know, are such basic, simple questions. But I expect that because I know that these guys have probably never done any of this kind of stuff before. So some of them are asking me, you know, what does this mean? What does that mean? And, you know, I don't want to say some of the things because I don't want, if any of them are listening, think I'm...
No, but I get that.
Because I'm not, mate, because that's what I'm here for. And no doubt that's what you're there for. But people don't realise that, you know, we are here to answer not necessarily the difficult questions. It's the simple stuff, because a lot of people don't understand the simple stuff. And that's what we're here for.
100%, mate. Couldn't agree with you more. You know, I think our job is to take the complex stuff and then put the message across in the simplest terms possible, because people don't understand, the science behind things. A lot of the science, I can't even grasp it a lot of the time. It blows my mind. So we can't expect, the everyday person who's never done anything like this before to have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, it's just educating people on basic calories, on macronutrients, and then on kind of getting people to understand that there's no good and bad foods, because as you know, through people that we deal with on a regular basis, that when people want to lose weight, the first thing that they think they have to do is cut out everything that they enjoy. And obviously we're trying to convey the complete opposite message, that you can keep that stuff in, but you just got to look at limiting the portion sizes and the frequency that you eat that kind of food.
And I suppose a perfect example, for you is, I don't know if you still do this, but I remember seeing on your stories and that on Tuesdays you always had your Dominos.
Yeah.
And I know until the very final weeks of your bodybuilding show, you were still doing it, even when you were cutting, weren't you? You were cutting your calories right down, but still doing it.
Always in, mate. So it's changed now. It used to be 2 for Tuesdays, but we switched it to a Friday. So one night a week we will have Dominos at our house, and all the way possibly until about 4 weeks out from competition. I was still eating that Domino's pizza, and that's what we're trying to say. And people say, well, how can you eat Domino's and lose weight? Because my expenditure is high, but I also adjust what I'm consuming on that day. So when I know, as you well know, if you set a day when you are going to do that, then you can adjust for that. So you can eat a smaller lunch, you can possibly skip breakfast, and you can still fit it into what you need. And even if you don't want to do that, if you've got an high expenditure, you can still get that in quite comfortably.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Right, pal. So I think we'll call it a day though. So I want, anyone that's listening, want to make sure they give you a follow and all that on social media. So do you want to tell people where they can find you on either Facebook and whatever?
I do most of the stuff through Instagram, and my handle is @P_D_fitness, and then I have a Facebook page which is just PD Fitness, mate, and that's where people can find me.
Cool. So what I'll do is, mate, I'll put a link to it in the notes, and that's so people can hop on and give you a follow anyway. So thanks again, mate. I really appreciate your time, pal, especially on a night time. So it's a Monday night now, so it's almost time for the Celebrity SAS show. So
yeah, mate, absolutely my pleasure, mate. So I'm good. Hey, that's the plan to do next. I forgot to say that. I've applied for that, and
that's what was into that.
Yeah. I'll see if I can.
Fingers crossed you'll get on, mate. Fingers crossed.
My pleasure, mate. Lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, you too, pal. Take it easy, mate. Thanks again. Cheers, Paul.
Yeah, you too, mate. Bye-bye.